Paul raised his voice. "Observe her, comrades. This is a Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother, patient in a patient cause. She could wait with her sisters 90 generations for the proper combination of genes and environment to produce the one person their schemes required. Observe her. She knows now that the 90 generations have produced that person. Here I stand, but I will never do her bidding." The first of the major power brokers introduced in Frank Herbert Dune series is the Sisterhood of the Bene Gesserit. While the nature and purpose of their activities are largely kept hidden from the eyes of outsiders, their clandestine agenda is fully revealed to the reader beginning from the early pages of Dune. The role that the Bene Gesserit play in introducing the reader to this universe is especially fitting, as they are the ones who have set the stage for the monumental events that would soon occur. In this video, I'd like to talk about the plans of the Bene Gesserit and how the outworking of their multi-thousand-year agenda proved to seal their destiny as the Dune saga unfolds. Spoiler warning if you are unfamiliar with Frank Herbert's Dune series. Although the activities and schemes of the Bene Gesserit were varied and complex, their primary goal was to guide humanity to a future of their choosing, ultimately one which prevented the downfall of human civilization. This undoubtedly was founded on their ideologies forged and molded by the events leading up to and immediately after the Butlerian Jihad and the subsequent universal banishment of thinking machines. In order to achieve their goal, the Sisterhood had worked for thousands of years to secure power across the Landsrad while working to produce a super being referred to as the Kwisatz Haderach. Due to the limitations inherent in their all-female organization, the members of the Sisterhood possessed a primal fear restricting them from accessing their patrilineal genetic memories. This subsequently drove them to initiate a long-running genetic breeding program that would produce a male Bene Gesserit, capable of safely accessing and navigating both male and female ancestral memories. This superhuman would possess heightened mental powers capable of bridging space and time, having access to ancient genetic memories of the past, and possessing prescience amplified by mentat logic capable of seeing far into the future. Thus, he would also be able to bend the future to his will. A fatal flaw in the Bene Gesserit's plan, however, was their assumption that this Kwisatz Haderach would fall under their influence. His loyalty to the Sisterhood was an essential factor intended to enable their order to rise to a place of widely accepted and visible political power. However, given that this being arrived a generation earlier than they had intended, the Sisterhood was caught off guard and their ability to groom, condition, and guide the Kwisatz Haderach was severely diminished. Because this being would have access to the full range of the Bene Gesserit's history, it's generally accepted that the Sisterhood expected him to understand and see the value in their mission for humanity, and thus their motivations would align. There were several factors that led to the Kwisatz Haderach falling outside of Bene Gesserit control. First of all, the existence of Paul Atreides in itself was an act of rebellion against the Bene Gesserit. Driven by love for Duke Leto, Paul's mother, Lady Jessica, disobeyed the Bene Gesserit directive to bear a daughter. Subsequently, Jessica's unfaithfulness to the Sisterhood likely had an effect on Paul, who himself was driven by love over logic and held a stronger sense of loyalty to the legacy of House Atreides over any sense of loyalty to the Bene Gesserit. Had he been taken and raised from infancy by the Sisterhood on their homeworld as they intended to do with their expected Kwisatz Haderach, it's more likely that these values of love and loyalty to his family would not have been as strong. Ultimately, it was the first event recorded in the opening pages of Dune, namely Paul's test with the Reverend Mother's Gom Jabbar, which determined the course of the Bene Gesserit for the next few thousand years. This interaction seemed to have cemented a strong sense of resentment and even hatred for the Sisterhood within Paul, as he was subjected to more pain and agony during his test than any other human on record. This, combined with their silent complicity in his father's death, served as a basis for his animosity and as a catalyst for his refusal to be influenced by the Bene Gesserit, as he usurped the Emperor and took control of the Imperium. Nevertheless, even after Paul was named emperor, the sisterhood remained active in pursuing their breeding program, working to protect the Atreides bloodline in order to produce a male Bene Gesserit that they could control. Paul's resistance to their agenda persisted, and despite their best efforts, yet another wild Kwisatz Haderach was produced, with the birth of his son, Leto II. It was this child who grew up to become the God Emperor, who would gain and maintain a tyrannical rule over the known universe. Interestingly, while the Bene Gesserit failed to control or influence the actions of the God Emperor, his agenda in many ways ran parallel to that of the Sisterhood. A key part of the God Emperor's Golden Path involved the extension of the Bene Gesserit's breeding program over the thousands of years of his reign. In a sense, he ended up achieving their goal of securing humanity's survival. Throughout all of this, the Sisterhood was allowed to survive and maintained a determination to gain control over whatever was left of the old Imperium. However, given the spectacular manner in which their creation of the Kwisatz Haderach backfired, and the tremendous decline in their power and influence, after the death of the God Emperor, they resolved to work against the arrival of another such being. Although Leto II had considered destroying the Bene Gesserit during his reign, he saw a value in their madness, as it represented a chaotic reservoir of surprises, some of which could prove useful. Instead of completely destroying and remaking the powers of the old Imperium, he worked to limit them, to shape and mold them into vehicles that fell in line, and even worked to promote the core principles that motivated the Golden Path. This ensured that the Bene Gesserit would maintain a resolve after his death to avoid the cycle of stagnation which had previously threatened humanity at large. Prior to his rule, the Sisterhood had worked to take advantage of humanity's stagnation to seize control of the Imperium. However, while they remained power-hungry throughout the Dune saga, their resolve to stamp out potential successors to the God Emperor effectively saw their initial agenda turned on its head. In a sense, it could be said that their work culminating in the arrival of this tyrant and their intimate familiarity with the process by which he had been made manifest facilitated their transformation into tools to be used to prevent the repeating of such an occurrence. Leto II also oversaw the introduction of the Atreides bloodline among the members of the Bene Gesserit, and eventually the Sisterhood would resume their breeding program with the goal of continuing to improve the human race and avoid the arrival of another Kwisatz Haderach. In the end, the arc of the Bene Gesserit serves as another thread woven into the author's warnings about messianic figures and mankind's tendency to follow charismatic leaders, as well as the dangers of humanity's reliance on that which cannot be fully understood. The Sisterhood's assumption of their ability to control the Kwisatz Haderach proved to be a colossal overestimation, sealing their destiny as defenders against the rise of any other manufactured messiahs. But I'm curious to know what you think of the plans of the Bene Gesserit. Are there any particular lessons or warnings that stand out to you as a result of their collective journey through the Dune saga? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Dune and other sci-fi and fantasy news and lore. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.